next speaker today is George Wiseman, who is renowned for his decades of work with Brown's gas, or HHO. Today, he'll present his research and development of Brown's gas for health. Please welcome George Wiseman.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you all, and I thank Steve for having this venue, which I've been at many times in the past. We have a lot to cover, so we'll just get right to it. Good. Put on the presentation, please. John? So, first, we're Brown's Gas Health Application. This is me. My mission statement is to help people who are willing to regain and maintain their health using specially treated and reformed water. Water, as many of you out there know, because I'm talking to the converted here in this particular crowd, you guys are far ahead of most people, but this is also for the video, and there's going to be a lot of people seeing that. Water is absolutely astonishing, and we don't know a fraction of what it is, no matter what the scientific community says. So, my history, quickly, I started experimenting with Brown's gas for fuel saving in 1986, and then I started experimenting using Brown's gas in torches to fuel torches instead of acetylene, and in 1993, by 1996, I'd invented the world's most practical electrolyzers, which are still ahead of the pack. I've since made improvements. So I've been in this thing for many decades, working with Brown's gas. Well, it turns out in 1996, one of my customers who had a torch, essentially the electrolyzers to fuel a torch, used Brown's gas to heal a melanoma on his forehead. And frankly, I didn't believe him. I couldn't understand using a torch fuel gas, which is essentially a flame, to just using the gas itself to heal anything. It didn't make any sense to me. But I was definitely wrong, and you'll see a little bit more as we continue. So, by the way that he did it was he took he bubbled the Brown's gas in water. So he bubbled it in, and then he used the water itself in a cotton ball on the melanoma, and he just changed out the water frequently during the day. So then he was able to cure the melanoma in about 3 weeks. It was gone. And skin cancer is about one of the worst you can get. So anyway, over a period of time then, since 1996, many people started using Brown's gas for health, first for plant applications. We'll get into that a little bit as we continue. I started drinking the Brown's gas water in 2005. So this was almost 10 years later after I'd first heard about the Brown's gas for health. And that's important to me because it shows how hard-headed I am, and you'll learn a couple other reasons why I regret that. But I also understand the people that don't want to use it because they just are afraid of trying something new, which is kind of weird because I'm an inventor and I'm doing new things nearly every day, but still. So I started selling ER50 electrolyzers, which are electrolyzers specifically designed for health application, but it looked like a science experiment in 2007. I'll show you some pictures a little bit later. But my late wife, as I was explaining, would not drink the Brown's gas bubbled water. Would not. I was drinking it. I drank it for years, but she just never would. So I understand. She's my spouse. She sees everything that's going on. She's hearing the customer testimonials coming in. She would not drink the water. But I didn't start breathing the Brown's gas until 2016. There's a series of things that were happening. For one thing, my late wife was sick, and I had from about 2009, I really had no time to do anything, and after about 2013, I really couldn't be away from her bedside for more than 30 minutes at a time. So I was pretty much full-time caretaker. But my customers who had the ER50s and bubbling in the water kept asking, can we breathe the gas? And I'm thinking, back to the torch days, hydrogen-oxygen mixture, suck it in the lungs, light a spark, lungs on the walls. I'm thinking it's not a good idea. And this is what I keep telling people. It's not a good idea. I kept telling people it's not a good idea to breathe an explosive mixture. Well, in December of 2015, one of my customers sent me a video that he had gotten offline of, essentially, you think of it as an oxygen bar, but it was a hydrogen bar in the Orient, where people could just walk in off the street, like you go to a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons, and you say, and get a Brown's gas treatment just as if we bought a cup of coffee, just off the street. And when I looked at that video, I suddenly realized something that I should have known as a Brown's gas expert for decades. As soon as you mix the Brown's gas with air, it becomes non-combustible. As long as the hydrogen percentage is under 4% in the mixture, it will not explode. And scientific experiments, hundreds of them now, starting kind of in 2005, but really starting in 2007, the medical scientific community started to catch on that hydrogen had some sort of medical therapeutic benefits, and they've been having hundreds of studies on hundreds of diseases, all positive. There are no negative side effects. Pretty amazing. So, I unfortunately didn't start breathing the gas until after my late wife passed in March of 2016, and as part of my therapy, if you will, for grief, I just dived back into my research, and you'll see a video of me a little bit later, the first time I ever breathed Brown's gas. I want to stop for just a moment and apologize to doctors, because in previous presentations, last year for example, I was saying, doctors aren't doing the right thing because this gas and what have you. However, I've also discovered many doctors, and they're approaching me every day, who really care, who really want their patients to be well. They are not wanting this thing where they just treat symptoms. They actually want health. So they've restored my faith in doctors, and these doctors know that the body heals itself. Doctors don't heal anything. All the doctor can do is help the body get into a condition to heal itself. So these doctors know that their training comes from Big Pharma, that drugs are designed to mitigate symptoms, and that actual cures are suppressed because they're not profitable. There was actually a paper done recently, I have it in my computer, where they did a study to see, and they found that curing anything was not a good business model. Big Pharma, what could I say? So these are issues Big Pharma has, and unfortunately, we have to do stuff ourselves. Luckily, there are some doctors who are helping. And here's something it took me decades to learn. I've discovered that health is not for everyone. My wife was an example. She would not drink the water. So it's not for people who don't want to change old habits. In other words, if you have addictions or you love your food or whatever, if you want to get thin, you got to change your eating habits, for example. But some people, they like their food. I love food. I understand this. But you got to change. If you want to change, you got to make a change. There's people that won't try something new, as we explained. There's people who are patience challenged. One particular woman had my machine, and it plugged up. They make sludge. The machines make sludge. You got to clean them out occasionally. When it came time for her machine to get cleaned out, she said, "No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to return it for a refund." And I couldn't even. It doesn't even fathom. If somebody walked up to me right now and said, "I'll give you $1 million right here in this satchel, cash, that you will never breathe Brown's gas again in your life," I'd tell him, "No deal." There's no amount of money on the planet that would cause me not to drink the Brown's gas bubbled water or breathe it every single day that I can of my life. I travel with the machines. I went to Mexico this last February, 2 weeks. I brought a machine down there. Now my dad lives down there, so when I brought the machine down there, TSA always has trouble with these machines. And the Mexico customs wasn't any different. But I just left a machine down there, so now all the family that's down in Mexico at that house can have breathe their gas and not have to travel with the machines as well. But my point is, scientific studies have shown a 30 to 50% increase in lifespan for water-based life systems. And these are mostly rat and mouse and pig studies and that kind of thing. But they find that I'm 60, And I figure, okay, I'll get another 20 years of life, probably. For $1 million? I don't think so. I'm not going to trade 20 years of my life for $1 million. Not going to happen. And it's health. Like, for example, I was doing some construction, and the foundation had to come out, and there was a jackhammer there, and those 20 and 30-year-olds were scared of the jackhammer, and I just jumped down in the pit and jackhammered all day. I hadn't jackhammered since I'd worked in the mine years before. I ended up, now a person would think if you worked hard all day and you're not used to it, especially on something like a jackhammer, you'd be stove up the next few days. Not a problem. Nada. Not a sore muscle, nothing. This is absolutely amazing what it does for the body and helping take care of the lactic acid and all the kinds of things that would cause soreness. So, anyway, this one woman whose patience challenged, she just simply said, nope, I'm not going to do it. And it's like, it's buying a car with a full tank of gas, and you get down the road and you got to put gas in it, and you say, no, I'm just going to return the car. just did not make any sense to me. Okay, so there's people who will not do what it takes to make the machine work, to do the treatments on a consistent basis and stay in for the long haul. For example, my psoriasis disappeared within 3 weeks. But my tinnitus is just now going away, and that took 2 years. So in order to bring the body back, it took me 58 years before I started breathing the gas of the body getting older and older, and it will take time to regenerate and be healthy.
George, are you accepting questions during it, or are you going to wait till the end?
I'm going to wait till the end. Thank you for asking. Yes, I should have done some housekeeping and said that. I intend to have a question period at the end. I'm going to go through this stuff fairly quickly. Please write down your questions as we go. And I'm assuming that people will have questions. Lots of people will have the same questions, so as they'll get answered fairly quickly at the end. But a lot of questions also get answered in the process of the talk, so then the questions aren't needed. So we'll see. Okay. So the next thing is we've discovered that health comes from food. We've rediscovered it. Like there's people who've known that medicine is your food is your medicine, all these kind of things, for centuries. But this is kind of unique, this particular thing that we're talking about. People are mostly hydrogen, all water-based systems, be it plants, fish, insects, birds, reptiles, everybody that's water-based is mostly hydrogen. And in this particular case, us are mostly about 62% by volume hydrogen. It's funny we don't just float off the planet, huh? But, and then carbon, we're about 12%, oxygen about 24%, and this is interesting. We're only 2% everything else. Yet, most of these systems, most of the systems that are health systems are concentrating on those 2%, like the calcium and magnesium and supplement industry, all is on the 2%. Don't you think it makes sense to concentrate on the 62%? To make sure you would get that nutrition? And you can't just get that nutrition anywhere. So since hydrogen is virtually the most important thing that we can have, and interestingly enough, in Japan, where they honor long life, they did a study where they took families who had people who lived over 100 years, and families whose people died young, and hundreds of people, they divided them into these two categories, and they found that the people who died young had the least amount of hydrogen in their bloodstream. The people that maintained their age had a maximum amount of hydrogen. It pretty much saturated blood hydrogen. So it's interesting, and I think of hydrogen as the molecule closest to God, the atom, because in space it's been shown that hydrogen can actually spontaneously appear and disappear. So it just kind of goes into the ether and back, and however the case may be. Plus, when you get into water and you understand all the kinds of things about water, it just puts you close to God. So, our most important food is hydrogen. How do we get hydrogen? You can't just breathe it in like oxygen. We get it from our food, as we explained it before. Our food is hydrocarbons, and when we eat it, the microbiome in our guts, starting with the enzymes in the mouth, all breaks down the food and what have you until it gets down into the colon. And in the colon, the bacteria in that point take that pre-digested stuff and break it down finally, and the hydrogen goes into your bloodstream through your colon, usually. I say usually because you'll see in a minute, most people's hydrogen-producing bacteria have been decimated by antibiotics. Unfortunately, one of the most important discoveries, medical discoveries that have ever existed, antibiotics, has now caused a huge health problem in the general population because antibiotics are prescribed for nearly everything as preventatives and what have you. It's a miracle drug for sure, and they have many different varieties, but virtually all of them kill the hydrogen-producing bacteria in your colon. And so people are aging and dying from dehydration, from lack of hydrogen, because that hydrogen is not being put into your blood. You're eating the food, but you're not getting the quality from it. And this is in addition to non-organic Franken foods and everything else that we're eating, whole nother subject. You need the hydrogen. So these are all things that I've discovered within the last year. My path started back in 1996 on hydrogen for health, Brown's gas for health, as you can see. So the Brown's gas helps the body actually heal. You regain your immune system. You regain your regeneration system. You regain it. It's just incredible. And the people that are doing this are able to get off most drugs, like blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications. They find that they can reduce, and then most of them don't even need to take it. As long as they're breathing the Brown's gas, they don't need it. So it shows you that a lot of these symptoms and ills in the body are caused by lack of hydrogen. And you supplement with the hydrogen, which you're not getting in your food anymore as much as you should, and you don't need the medications. Everything goes back to health. So people using the Brown's gas, which is also called hydroxy or HHO or a dozen other names, which are all on my website, eagle-research.com, report healing quickly, seldom getting sick, and regaining youthful appearance and vigor. So I'm 60. I feel like I'm doing pretty good, and I'll show you some pictures in a little bit that show. Okay, John, if you can call up the... a video here called, it's a lift loop, yep. So this loop will show you some particular things. This is Lloyd Jacob. He recently fell down the stairs and broke his neck, unfortunately, but he did a huge amount of work with Brown's Gas for Health. His niece did a college study using Brown's gas for plants, and the well water that was bubbled with the Brown's gas did the best. Well, plants can do minerals, so the mineral water did as well, but always the Brown's gas did better. In this particular case, we're seeing the electrically expanded water made there, and I'll get more into that in a little bit. That was John Lillis. He did an entire orchard and garden with the Brown's gas, and you can see the difference in the growth of the plants. Again, a water-based life system. So, can you see the difference here? Nice and lush, Brown's gas, barely germinated with the regular stuff. And that was just with my ER50s. And in this case, this particular artist, we call him Dr. D, did the same thing in his gardens. He has hydroponic gardens as well. And they did the Brown's gas and not Brown's gas in the germination. So plants don't lie. And here we go, showing the plants
stimulation of hydrogen in the water, a mix that is pumped to the top of our A-frame hydroponic system. So the water is brought up through the magnetic gate up to the top of our tubes. And on this side, you can see that within 2 weeks of adding hydrogen, we have flower stimulation of all the plants at the top of the tube. And fruiting. And each plant has, similar to this, have 10 flowers and continue to stimulate good leaf growth and flowers with good strawberry sizes for the first row, and then coming down with less hydrogen as you go down. On the other side, I've transferred these nice plants to the second row to try and stimulate the second row into the top row to see if we can't stimulate those plants with more flower. But you can see we have the same similar results, up to 13 flowers and fruit coming with good leaf growth on the strawberries from the stimulation of hydrogen. So you take any of these and see that we put in the sediment into the cup, and the root growth is quite good with the micronutrients, but the stimulation of the hydrogen allowed for the flowering and the fruit generation, which it had none, literally none, prior to adding the hydrogen machine.
Very good.
So this is a test of comparing the growth of koi in between hydrogen stimulated water versus normal pond water. What we have is almost the same age fish from April of last year until now, coming from very minute 1 centimeter long fish. And you can see the size of this orange fish, this white fish, and the other large goldfish here. Those were all stimulated by hydrogen and have had tremendous growth compared to the others that are from near the same age from April of 2016.
Very good.
Okay.
So here's a fellow's hand, just with one treatment of Brown's gas, how it plumps up and hydrates the hand. In this particular, this was my mother-in-law, who I never got a final picture. She was murdered. That's a long story in itself. But when she was 3 months, and her wounds would not heal. From a quadruple bypass surgery, they take veins from the legs. So anyway, her wounds would not heal. In 3 weeks, they healed with the Brown's gas.
Hello. Okay, so we'll put this glove on you. You don't have to hang your arm. You can just put it wherever it's comfortable. So you had carpal tunnel, or have?
Yes,
So what was happening?
and the carpal tunnel is mostly in the wrist and in the hand, but I've got some arthritis up in here as well. I find that if I'm working with my fingers a lot, whether it's typing or any type of intricate work, I get a lot of pain and I can't bend my fingers that much. It feels like an electrical current running through my hand and my arm when I'm in a lot of pain. Yeah, so I'm hoping to continue to get treatment. 'Cause
It's working.
It is. It's helping a lot.
What happened the very first time you had a treatment?
For about 6 to 8 hours, the feeling totally subsided. I still had a little bit of pain in the upper area, and I think it's because it's kind of focused more on where my severe pain was, and I couldn't really move my hand at that point. I had the brace on.
And then every treatment thereafter?
It extends a little bit. It only first started out with about 6-ish hours, and then it's the last treatment I got last week, I believe. It went for probably 2.5, 3 days where I could do things and I didn't get twinging feelings. You know, it almost feels like it's pinching a nerve and my hand gives out. And now when I get into treatments, I can do what I normally do, usually.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay.
This was the first time I breathed the Brown's gas after my late wife passed.
Now, when you turn it on, just click on the 5-minute thing. Once the pressure builds up to a reasonable level, this bubbler starts working, and then the pressure builds in that bubbler container, and then that bubbler starts working, and now you know gas is coming out so that you can get Brown's gas breathing. I use deionized water in here, so I can actually drink this water as a water drink. So pull down this little thing here so I have lots of room. Put this in my nostrils and over my ears. I can breathe in. Chuck this up to my chin a little bit. And I'm breathing brown
氢
gas.
氧能源科技在国内常运用在交通运输跟热能转换，现在商机庞大的美容医疗市场也开始运用这项科技，利用纯水产
This is
生
that
氢氧
hydrogen
气
bar I was
体
telling，you
研
about.
发出人体保健的专利器材。
The Japanese are big into health and beauty.
More than 300 Japanese companies showcased a variety of products related to spa, cosmetics, and food products at the recently held Diet and Beauty Fair 2015 in Tokyo. Zero Company Limited has introduced anti-aging formula called Tabletop Hydrogen Generator, which is able to produce the high-purity hydrogen.
水素の働きというのは抗酸化物質であるということが一つ。
Hydrogen coalesces with the active oxygen in the body and becomes water. Since it's hard to drink a lot of hydrogen water, this is easy as to breathe spontaneously. The machine can incorporate hydrogen 10 milliliter per minute. The equipment called Water Fairy generates a high concentration of hydrogen by electrolyzed purified water. By nasal inhalation for about 10 minutes, it makes the same effect worth for drinking 5 liters of saturated hydrogen water.
とかくすみとかシワが消えていくんですね。
By using the method for 1 month, it improves the tone of the skin and helps improve allergic symptoms. A customer who purchased this product said it increases the oxygen amount, adding that it also improves skin whitening and fades stain away.
これをするとものすごい復活が早いです。なので目がパッチリして頭すっきりします。なさってください。
She says it helps clean her mind and make her alert, and she'll make sure to give it to her husband.
Like in the hospital.
The price of the unit is around $6,000 US. The anti-aging care equipment attracts attention from around the world.
Here's a bunch of people I helped make their own ER50s. The woman you see there, her son actually did an experiment where he lit the machine, built up a lot of pressure and then ignited the gas and it blew her machine apart. Yeah, that wasn't good. So I helped her rebuild her machine. Okay, John. Okay, so this showed the fish. What is Brown's gas? My last presentation last year, the DVD's not expensive, and it goes right into details showing spectroanalysis and chromophotography and all these kinds of things, showing that Brown's gas is simply a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen, but there's 6 different constituents. The most important for us are hydrogen, oxygen, and electrically expanded water. I simply state that Brown's gas is the mixture that comes from when you're electrolyzing water and keeping all the gases together. You do not get the same effect with a traditional Faraday-type electrolyzer, which separates the oxygen and hydrogen streams. You have to keep it all together to get the electrically expanded water. It has to do with the way the electrolyzer puts the electrons into the water so that that gas is formed in between the plates. This gas is formed right in the water. And it's something that the Faraday equations don't cover, so that's why it actually isn't over unity. See, I didn't know why my electrolyzers were over unity. In that particular case, it was showing about 130%. I was making 30% more gas than the electrolyzers said that it could. I'll really take questions after. But that's the reason. The electrically expanded water is not part of the equation. As the electricity moves through the water and electrons cause the water to expand, water soaks up electricity like a sponge soaks up water. And it becomes a gaseous form of water, which is called plasma, which is the 4th state of matter. You got your solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. So that, and Gerald Pollack and I had a discussion about that. He agrees it is the actual 4th state of water, phase, if you will. So the electrically expanded water has these electrons which are bioavailable. And it's this portion. Hydrogen is good, no question. People should supplement with hydrogen. But hydrogen is like bricks. It's like your food. It doesn't do anything unless you have some energy. You have a construction crew with some equipment that moves things around. It's the electrically expanded water, the EXW, that provides the body energy, especially people who are sick and old and have lost energy generation systems. They've become compromised in one way or another. So in order to regenerate, you need the energy. You need that jump start. So the electrically expanded water is actually formed right in between the plate. There's that line of bubbles that you see right there. There's bubbles coming off the negative side, which is the hydrogen, and the positive side, which is the oxygen, and exactly right in the middle is the electrically expanded water come out right between the plates. That only happens in a Brown's gas electrolyzer. It does not happen in a traditional electrolyzer where there's a membrane right there, and that membrane interrupts the flow of electrons and the making of the electrically expanded water. So hydrogen forms on the negative side, or the cathode, oxygen forms on the positive, or the anode, and EXW is the true magic of this gaseous mixture. So we're going to start talking about health, and I simply state, my statements are not approved by any of the alphabet companies or organizations. Just assume they're not approved by anybody. I'm not diagnosing or prescribing. I'm giving personal and customer testimonial actual results. So, the traditional health industry missed the importance of hydrogen for health for centuries. I found some things about 200 years ago. They were proposing using hydrogen for health, and this was back even before Faraday, when they were just trying to figure out what this gas was and what have you. Some people actually figured that out. I have no idea why. It's like my customers using a torch fuel gas for health. It was, but some people think outside the box, and they figured it out, even way back then. So here's some examples of ailments that have been mitigated. I don't use the word heal, I don't use the word cure. I'm not an MD, so I can't do that. And so diseases and cure I can't say, but we'll say ailments and mitigated with hydration. The starred items are ones that I have personal experience with. So you just saw me with the video and what I looked like when I started breathing in March of 2016. And by August of 2016, I looked like this. It was already making a very big difference, very fast. Now that slowed down, but I figured I was aging backwards by about a year a month in that initial time. So in 2014, I looked like that. And in 2016, I looked like that. And this is pretty much what I look like now. Did pretty much everybody agree? Okay. Well, that photo was taken in 2008.
Not bad for 16 years old, huh?
Allergies. My current wife, who I love very much, a long story there too, but she's amazing. However, she suffered from allergies, amazing allergies. She had to be taking a Zyrtec every day just to survive. And when she started breathing the Brown's gas, within 2 weeks, she no longer needed any allergy medication. She maybe takes a Zyrtec once or twice a year now. And so allergies was a big thing. Why is it? Oh, I see. Pressing the wrong button. Thank you, John. Okay, so arthritis. I had arthritis in my hands. Completely gone. Absolutely no pain and full function and movement of my hands. This is Daryl Mason and his hands, which you saw in the video. He, in fact, he calls it the $450,000 cure. He's using the word cure in this particular case. Because without the Brown's gas, he would not have been able to continue his business, which after he continued his business, he's now retired, he made an additional $450,000. But he would not have been able to do it without the Brown's gas. And his hands were, he just couldn't do anything with his hands anymore. Autoimmune disease. Now here's where it gets a kind of really sad for me, because my wife, my late wife, had lupus, and it was a terrible way to go. Autoimmune disease. And essentially, she would not go to a doctor, an MD. She went to NDs, and they did the best they could. She went to acupuncturists and chiropractors and all these kinds of alternative medicine. She would not go to an MD. I begged her to, because I didn't know what the problem was. We were trying to fight these symptoms, like she got diabetes. We cured mitigated her diabetes in 3 months. She was back from a 25 to a 7. What I call amygdals, in 3 months' time. So her A1C and everything came back down. And she did that strictly with diet. She was a strong woman, amazing woman. But autoimmune disease, she had the lupus. since she's passed, and since I started breathing the gas, and since I started selling AquaCures, I got a testimonial back from a woman who had lupus, not as severe as my wife at the time, but in 3 weeks her symptoms were gone. 3 weeks. So, since 1996, God was telling me, gave me the clues for what my wife needed, and she would not have died. So I'm pretty passionate about this. It's important to me to help a lot of other husbands and wives not go through what I did. Back pain, just muscle, back pain, all that kind of thing. You just put the gas on it, away you go. There's many things about the blood. As soon as you're breathing the gas, it takes it everywhere in the body, and anything to do with blood pretty much takes care of. Burns heal, I'm going to say practically overnight. It's amazing. It's almost like somebody wave a hand over it like magic. The burns, even very severe burns, heal with no scars. Cancer, incredible amounts of different kinds of cancer. I'm starting to get some pictures now. This particular guy in Germany, a doctor sent me these pictures. Like I say, I've had several doctors now cooperating with this and have recommended my machines to hundreds of their patients. In this particular case, the guy had psoriasis and skin cancer. In just putting a shower cap on and putting the gas itself, not even doing the bubbled water, in 2 weeks, it was mostly gone. In 3 weeks, it's almost not even there. Then the guy was given a machine and took it home, and he hasn't given us any further photos, but I'm assuming it just completely healed. Chronic fatigue, me personally, there's no such thing anymore. There was times when I was tired, I'd have to take a nap. Not anymore. All day long, I was up till midnight, got up at 3 in the morning. I get tired, I get bored, but I don't have fatigue anymore. Cramps of various kinds, constipation, yeah. Anybody who's really had constipation knows how important this is. And my movements are as smooth, it's beautiful. Dehydration, pretty obvious. The depression, now I was told by a doctor, again a doctor in Germany, that she's pretty sure that the Brown's gas saved my life. Because when my late wife passed and I was in the hospital there watching her final breaths, I just about went with her. Anybody who has had a loved one die understands what I'm talking about. And there's just no words. And it was like there was no real reason for me to live anymore. It took that much out of me. It says a lot of women go into a depression at that point, but because I started breathing the Brown's gas and came back and got into my work, she's pretty sure that saved my life. The diabetes, because when your body is really healthful, it almost can't be depressed. Everything comes back. Diabetes, the Brown's gas really helps with the diabetes in quite a few different ways. And the symptoms of diabetes, like the kidney problems and edema, those kind of things. Eyesight, you probably will see me in glasses, pictures in the past. I wore glasses most of my life. I almost never wear my glasses anymore. I actually have them right here, but I only wear them when I'm driving to see quite a few distant things because my driver's license says I have to. So I have them. If somebody pulls me over, I'll just put on my glasses. So lots of different eyesight diseases. This came from a doctor in Germany as well. This particular woman, her mother actually, has a rash under her eye right here. It's scaly. It was very painful and itchy. And in one treatment, it was almost completely gone. One treatment, what she did is took like diving goggles and put the gas in and just had the Brown's gas around her eyes. So this is an example of how a rash can get mitigated. And she was very grateful for that. Fatigue, again, like and the flu. I will say one thing. First of all, your immune system comes back online, so you pretty much don't get sick. I haven't been sick with the flu since 2005, when I started drinking the Brown's gas bubbled water. My immune system came on enough and since I've been breathing the gas, it's even better. I've had dark field blood work done, and they say my immune system is absolutely amazing. In fact, Another thing that the Brown's gas does is mitigate radiation damage and helps prevent radiation damage to the body. So if you're having radiation and chemotherapy, it'll help mitigate all the damage that was being done, should you bother. But even when you take a plane ride, last year I flew 4 hours to get to the symposium, and I had the dark field blood test done almost immediately after the plane ride, and the woman could not believe that I had been on an airplane, because what she would normally see as radiation damage from being high in the atmosphere did not exist in my blood. She just wouldn't believe it. She thought I was lying, but it wasn't there. But back to the flu. If you breathe the Brown's gas when you have flu virus in your lungs, the flu virus likes that, and your flu will get worse. Okay? So the one time not to breathe the Brown's gas is if you have flu virus in your lungs. Virus anywhere else, like my warts are all gone. There's been people with herpes tell me that it's disappeared. Shingles, there's a lot of different kinds of viruses that disappear. Your body immune system gets rid of them. But I've had 3 people now report back to me that when they were breathing while they had the flu, it got worse. When they stopped breathing, they were able to recover. And then, of course, once they're recovered, they can start breathing again, and their immune system gets more built up, so theoretically they won't get the flu again. They really don't need shots or anything like that to prevent flu. Gout, again, it's like getting rid of all that lactic acid and that kind of thing. Now, my hair regrowth, this was in July. Both these were taken right here in Albuquerque. This was last year, what my head looked like, and this is just last night. I took this picture last night. So this is the difference. You can see that the hair is growing back up. There's more hair, and it actually is growing forward as well. And it's very amazing for me because my whole family is bald. All the men get bald. And we've lost our hair and lose it consistently. So having regain even one hair would be amazing. And it's not fast, but it's happening. Heartburn, heart murmur. I had a heart murmur since I was a child. And now it's gone. The doctors can't hear it anymore. It was a weak valve in my heart. And my body just fixed it. And my dad had heart surgery recently, and the doctor, and very poor prognosis. I gave him a machine, and the doctors are absolutely amazed at how fast he recovered. They can hardly believe it. So high blood cholesterol, and high blood pressure, just gone. Inflammation, this is really important. Virtually all disease either causes or is exacerbated by inflammation. And the Brown's gas is a selective anti-inflammatory. There are redox, there's like nitrous oxide, for example, is a free radical in your body that you need and want. And normal anti-inflammatory things like vitamin E, vitamin C, if you get too much, it tends to delete all free radicals. But hydrogen only deletes the bad ones, turns them into water. So it crosses the blood-brain barrier effortlessly, so it goes all through your body, right down to your DNA, which is made of hydrogen, essentially. So the hydrogen is the most important and best anti-inflammatory there is. Kidneys, again, one of the problems my late wife had was kidney inflammation. Libido. That was a little embarrassing at first for me. When I started breathing the Brown's gas, I started feeling like a teenager again. Really, I'm not joking. It was tough. I hadn't had those kind of feelings for a long time, and suddenly having to deal with them again, that was tough. And I thought it was just me, but I've actually now had several customers come and tell me the same thing, people who bought the machines. And just recently, a doctor told me one of his patients, who incidentally was a woman, reported to him that she had increased libido. So that is one of the things that you can probably expect to have happen. My wife with the lupus and the woman that came back, migraine headaches. A lot of people are having a good result with that. Neuropathy. This is one, I had lost the feeling in the palm of my hand, and the numbness was just spreading out toward my fingers. And I was afraid I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought I was going to lose the use of my hand. I certainly didn't want that. And I'd already had numbness from my knees to my feet on the front of my shins The doctors couldn't explain that either. It was my left leg first, and then it started doing it in my right leg. And so all that numbness went away when I started breathing the Brown's gas. That was about 3 months in. I suddenly realized, well, actually, the numbness in my hands I could feel going away because I use my hands a lot, so I could feel that it was getting less. But suddenly I realized one day I went and felt my shins, and I could feel my shins. I could feel the skin on my shins again. So that was, and that was a total surprise. I actually started breathing the Brown's gas just to prove it was safe. I didn't have any expectation that I would get healthier. I thought I was healthy. All these things that I'm telling you about are just things I was living with. I wasn't sick like people I think were sick. I thought I was healthy. When you breathe the Brown's gas, you can actually do an oxygen supplementation. Some people have to breathe bottled oxygen. You can actually do that with this machine. You can breathe the oxygen-hydrogen mixture, and it gives you a better result than just plain oxygen alone. In fact, a lot of people have to breathe so much oxygen, it can start poisoning the body. That doesn't happen when you add the hydrogen. Pain, muscles, tendons, it mitigates the pain almost immediately. If you have a sore muscle anywhere, your back, your neck, your legs, you just put the, and this would be especially good for athletes, for example, you put the Brown's gas cup on it or a bag or whatever, and it just hydrates, soothes out the inflammation, everything's gone, sometimes in minutes. Okay, this is the Parkinson's video. This particular man has Parkinson's disease, had it for many years, and here's a video with the hydrogen therapy breathing. I've wanted to get a hold of Michael J. Fox for many, many years. If anybody knows any way to getting that, I'd really like that. Does seem to be, he's one of my favorite actors. And he does seem to be controlling his Parkinson's with drugs fairly well, but this is as natural as it gets. So here's an hour and a half in. You can see the tremors are much reduced. After 2 hours, virtually no tremors at all. This gas goes right to the brain. The brain does what it needs to do. The body knows how to heal itself. We live in amazing machines, these bodies, these biological machines, and it has all these systems that all work together, but it needs what it needs to do it. You need the building blocks. Okay, we can go back to the video, to the presentation. You need the building blocks, and the 62% is the biggest building block. Psoriasis. I grew up on a cattle ranch. I had thick peeling calluses on my hands and stuff like that. I didn't realize that the thick peeling skin on my knees, elbows, and feet wasn't just normal until I started breathing the Brown's gas. Within 3 weeks of breathing the Brown's gas, that skin just peeled off, and it was nothing but baby smooth skin underneath. I'd never had such smooth skin in all my life, and I didn't ever realize that I even had psoriasis. That's what happened. Okay, healing of scars. I tell people who buy my machines, take pictures of your scars, because they are going to be gone, and I want some pictures of scars, and then not, because I didn't take any pictures of my scars. And I noticed one day that, for example, the scar on my forehead, which you can see by where it was by the blue dot, I can kind of find it because I can see where it was because of the way my skin wrinkles on my forehead when I wrinkle up my forehead. So the skin still kind of retained that shape where the scar would have been, but this is really important because like your body is so amazing that, like if you were getting hypothermia, your body shuts down heat to the extremities to maintain your core temperature. The same with dehydration, this kind of lack of hydrogen. When your body is not getting enough hydrogen, it starts to shut down extraneous functions to maintain life. And one of the things that it shuts down first is the body's regeneration system. So if you have scars, your regeneration system has shut down. You start breathing this Brown's gas, your scars will disappear. Every single one of my customers who has been breathing the Brown's gas is reporting exactly the same thing. And none of them have taken pictures of their scars. Now, interestingly enough, there's other things that people don't take pictures of, like cellulite. Women have reported back to me that their cellulite's disappearing. And I said, did you take a picture? No. Who takes pictures of their cellulite? So I can't show you these things. But this is the kind of results that are coming back. So your body's regeneration system comes back online, and you start making skin cells instead of just patched scar cells. So that's the kind of thing that's going on. So all things about the skin, including blemishes. I didn't get it into the presentation, but there's a fellow who had an age spot on his face. And in 3 weeks' time, just treating it with the Brown's gas bubbled water on a consistent basis, the age spot is virtually gone. You have trouble even seeing where it was. And I assume in another week or two, he'll send me a picture where it is actually gone. Tinnitus, like I was saying, I only once in a while hear a little bit of a ringing when I'm really under stress. When but normally it's gone. But that took a long time. And it was bad enough, I went to a doctor because I could hardly hear people speak because the ringing in my ears was so loud. Toothaches, urination, pain-free. This is an interesting one. I lost 40 pounds. This is me when I was 40 pounds heavier. And I call it my hydroxy water diet. How? And essentially, I eat once a day. I get most of my nutrition calorie-free from my hydrogen that I directly breathe. So I only need some supplemental food, and I eat the highest quality, like nuts and fruits and things like that, generally speaking. And once a day is all I eat, and that's all I need. They call that the warrior's fast, if that helps at all. But I still love food. I don't want to not have to eat food. But I can go for days without eating food as long as I'm breathing my Brown's gas. And of course, I do lose weight because my body kicks into the ketosis fat-burning cycle. And then it really burns. It burns it nice and cleanly. My blood sugars stay up. I'm really good. The only time I have a problem is when I was working really hard in the heat. I started to get a little bit faded and realized, okay, it's been 3 days since I ate. I probably should go in and get some water and eat something. But other than that, this is probably the simplest, least expensive diet a person could possibly have. You simply don't eat food, then you don't have to buy food, you don't have to stock food, you don't have to cook food, you don't have to clean the dishes, there's a whole bunch of life that it helps. One of the reasons I use a razor to, and this is style, because then you don't have to maintain the hair, you just wash, you're gone. I've got too many other things to do in my life. So this was, again, my mother-in-law, where she had the open weeping sores where they took the veins from her legs for the quadruple bypass surgery, and then in 3 months' time it was still open and weeping, and just with the Brown's gas water, bubbled water on her leg in approximately 3 weeks' time, in 3 weeks' time, it was able to have it being healed, obviously healed over. And in about 2 weeks more, it was gone. But by that time, I had my machine back, and then it was a long story, but I never got a chance to show the actual healed leg. Warts, like I said, I had hand warts. I had a planter's wart on my foot. I just lived with them. I just nipped them off when they got big and lived with them. But the planter's wart on my foot would feel like a stone in my shoe about once every 3 months. And then when I noticed that my hand warts were gone, I suddenly realized I hadn't had to nip my planter's wart either. So I checked, and yep, that baby smooth skin, no wart anymore. It was just gone. And a wart is a virus. And so my immune system had come back online, that even the drinking of the Brown's gas water didn't get rid of my warts. It wasn't until I started breathing the gas that I got rid of my warts. So the results will vary. Every body is different. So depending on where you're at, that's what happens. So there's many enhanced waters out there. So what do you consider when you're choosing what's going on? In my opinion, pure is better. If you're using water that has stuff in it, then it better be biocompatible. And a lot of the water is not. They put the minerals in it, but the minerals are not biocompatible. They say calcium, magnesium, all these kind of things. Most of it your body cannot take in directly. It has to come from a plant-based source. The plant can take up that out of the soil and turn it into a biocompatible thing that we can then eat. Or we eat the animals that eat the plants. But nevertheless, we get our nutrition mostly from plants and animals. ORP, oxygen reduction potential. Negative is better. Everybody thinks positive is better, but in this case, negative is better. Negative means that it's measured in millivolts. So the more electrons that are in there, which we're coming back to electrically expanded water, soaks up a bunch of electrons. The more electrons that are in the water, the lower the ORP will be. But you have to make sure that it's pure water with just electrons, not cheating. I call it cheating when they put minerals in the water to make the electrons stick onto the minerals so the ORP goes down in that way. You have to have pure water with low ORP. And pH, again, we get into the potential of hydrogen. Everybody's saying alkaline water is good. Alkaline water can be good, but only if it's pure and a high pH because of hydrogen, the potential of hydrogen. That's what pH stands for. That's what you're wanting to put into the water, and that's what you want to have the hydrogen come up. Anything that's impure in there is likely to be causing your body problems. Get your nutrition, your minerals and vitamins from your food, or supplementation if you have to. So, as you're trying to choose a technology to go with, you're going to be drinking enhanced water. But you want it to be pure water, not enhanced just with minerals and stuff. You want to be able to have something that'll breathe hydrogen, but really, you want to go to the next step. You don't want to breathe just hydrogen. You want to breathe hydrogen-oxygen mixture that has electrically expanded water in it. There's a big fad out there now, and you're going to see it come on board. It's just like when fluorescent lights come out, the compact fluorescents. Everybody was saying get compact fluorescent lights are 3 times more efficient than incandescent. And I was looking at the technology that was out there, and I said, LEDs are 6 times more efficient. I'm just going to go right to LED. Now at the time, in 2009, 2010, LEDs were not as inexpensive as they are now, but I put them throughout my house. If you're going to go for efficiency, go for the best. And that's the same with the Brown's gas. You're going to go for what you actually want, go for the best. This is above the hydrogen's good. The Brown's gas is better. So, there's various hydrogen technologies out there. One of it's the flow-through electrolyzers. Now, these are things like the Kangen machine and Life ionizers, all the whole spectrum of them. And they've got some very good ones now. In fact, I have a Kangen K8 on my own counter. And actually, there's another one I think I'd like even better. But I won't buy another one. I don't need it. I have something that's better. A flow-through electrolyzer takes your tap water, whatever you're feeding into it, and as it flows through, it splits the water streams into the essentially negative and positive, and the good high pH water then goes out to the drinking, and the acid water goes out the other side. It could be washing water, whatever the case may be. So, but the water has impurities. It cannot work without impurities. This is the thing I keep telling people. You can't put pure water through a flow-through electrolyzer or several of these other technologies and have it work. Water itself is a dielectric. It will not transmit electricity. You cannot separate the gases, the stream flows, unless there's impurities in the water. So, the next is what they call batch ionizers, which is very similar to another type of ionizer we'll get to in a minute, except the plates are very far apart in 2 different chambers. And it takes the high pH and low pH and separates it. Again, it's impure water, and you can't breathe it either. So like I say, one of the things you got to consider, can you breathe the gas that's coming out? Now these things make drinking water, but it's also impure drinking water. Colloidal silver water. Colloidal silver is very good. So but it's an electrolyzer, and one of the reasons that it works is because it's actually making the Brown's gas in the water. It's putting the hydrogen and oxygen in there. Silver, yes, it's antibacterial and it's all good, but colloidal silver water will always be better if you take it immediately after making it. Magnesium bars and tablets, again, you're putting something in the water that makes impure water. You've got your magnesium oxide in there and stuff like that. Yes, it makes hydrogen, but then it makes magnesium oxide, which clogs you up and what have you. Batch electrolyzers, very similar to the batch ionizers, except the plates are very close together, and it makes the water from essentially tap water again. So hydrogen generators traditionally take the hydrogen off one side, the oxygen off the other. They're very good, much better than most of these other choices, but and can be small bottles, like the batch electrolyzers. You actually buy small bottles, and you can actually make the hydrogen in them. But again, the very best is the Brown's gas electrolyzers, because it makes everything. It makes your electrically expanded water and everything. So back in the day, we still make the ER50 kits that people can put together, or they can have the fully assembled ER50s, which you saw actually do the health benefits just fine. A lot lower cost than the AquaCure, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles either. So the original AquaCure, I introduced this machine. This is a picture of the actual machine that I introduced last year at the symposium, and called it the EA H160. So now is what we have, the newer version. We've learned things. It's a better, smoother operating machine. Again, it's also more expensive, but it really does the job. Okay, so things to consider when you're going for Brown's gas electrolyzers is you want to have a gas volume that's not too much, because you don't want it breathing an explosive mixture. You want to have a company that has a comprehensive online resources, fully assembled and comes with all attachments. You want to have a lifetime warranty, which we have on our machines, and a satisfaction guarantee, 100% money back satisfaction guarantee, 1 year. Doesn't matter. You don't have to give a reason. You can return the machine, get 100% of your money back for a full year. But I do it that way because I want people to be in there for the long haul and actually get the results. I'm in this to help people. So low liquid level shutoff, electrolyzers, if they get too low, they can actually arc across the plates and explode. Anti-backfill, you don't want to have your water going back into the machine and then coming out with lye in it. Timer and full on off switch, safety certified. Ours has an overpressure safety, so if for some reason the gas flow gets plugged, it will shut off 2 different ways and relieve the gas pressure if necessary. The electrolyte is no more caustic than soap. You bet. And it can fuel a mini torch, which is going to be really important. Okay, so we have no guarantee of results, but we have the 100% guarantee. The same guarantee I've had since I started building products back in 1984. I've been in business that long. I expect to be in business for decades more, especially now that I have Brown's gas. So I have decades of experience. I've spent tens of thousands of hours in research, over $2 million in funds. I know from experience of building thousands of electrolyzers and customer feedback what can go wrong and how to make the machines the best possible in the world. I've consistently proven good customer service, which is another thing you really want to look for when you're buying from anybody. Doesn't have to be me. I like it if it was, but I mostly want people to get going on this. Okay. So Brown's gas hydrates living bodies better than any other known hydrogen technology, and because it's not just hydrogen, it's also the electrically expanded water, which is you've somewhat got the idea. So now we can have some questions.
Okay, by the way, come on, I want everybody to come up to the microphone here, line up here, and you don't have to rush quite off so fast. There is a buffet they're setting up over there so that you can get in and out. It's like 15 or 16 bucks. Robert's going to tell you about it right after he gets done, but so you don't have to rush. Things aren't quite so bad. They got a great buffet Q&A.
Hello? There we are. Do you notice, I didn't see anything about arthritis. Does it help arthritis? And the second question is, could you go into more explanation of the gas that's generated in the water versus on the plates and how effective each are?
Okay, arthritis, absolutely. Everybody who tries it on arthritis, all kinds of arthritis, notice an immediate relief, and then over time, it disappears entirely. The inflammation and pain are gone, and you get full mobility. I had arthritis myself, so I can personally testify to that. As far as the gases, I actually will direct you back to my last talk last year. The DVDs are in the room back there, and it'll give full explanations of what gases are generated on what plates and the constituents of the gases, all that kind of thing.
Right. Terry Shintani, Professor of Alternative Medicine, University of Hawaii Med School. I have 3 questions, real quick ones. How does that compare to the tablets? And then they have this Izumio brand water. How does that compare? That's number 1. Number 2, is this like alkaline water? And number 3, is the principal effect anti-inflammatory?
Okay, so I got the tablets. What was the other part of that first question?
Or the Izumio water that's already got hydrogen in it. They have this brand that they're selling from Japan.
Right, okay.
It's a ready-to-drink beverage with hydrogen.
Right,
Yeah.
I've seen that sort of thing. Water can only soak up a certain amount of hydrogen, and then it just simply goes out. It has to do with the partial pressures and everything like that. The hydrogen, generally speaking, even in the stuff from Japan, is not as good as bubbling immediately. Because even from Japan, they put it in aluminum pouches, for example, I believe the ones you are thinking of. And aluminum holds the hydrogen in better than any other material, but it's still, and some of the energies and stuff that are in there, but it still leaks out. It goes into the environment. And over a period of time, you're just drinking water. So it's always good to make it right on the spot and drink it as soon as possible. As far as the tablets and bars go, the magnesium tablets and bars, they make hydrogen really well. And a lot of it, and super saturates the water with hydrogen. But 2 things. First of all, it's only hydrogen. You're not getting any of the electrically expanded water. You're not getting any of the oxygen or the energies that the Brown's gas puts into the water. And the second thing is that you end up with magnesium oxide in the water, a black powder. And you either let the water sit, in which case your hydrogen is disappearing until that settles out, but even then, you're still going to be drinking some of that magnesium oxide. And while it isn't really poisonous, it still clogs you up. It's something your body then has to deal with. So yes, in a short term, I would say tablets are an excellent thing. Like if you're traveling in something and you still want to keep up your hydrogen therapies to keep your psoriasis and other things away, then definitely I'd go with a bottle of tablets. But otherwise, I definitely recommend the Brown's gas. Okay, that was the tablets. What was your second question again?
The other question is that alkaline?
Yes. Anytime your pH rises above neutral, which is 7, you consider it to be alkaline. When you put the Brown's gas in the water, you can get up to about an 8 pH. And that's having nothing to do with minerals or anything. It's totally hydrogen. You're putting enough hydrogen in there that you're getting a potential of hydrogen a magnitude greater than neutral.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I live in the world of hydrogen therapeutics. I'm also the creator of the first reactive hydrogen tablet in 2010. Okay?
Yes.
So I believe in the world I live in, and you know how expanded worldwide molecular hydrogen has become. I
Yes.
think you have a feeling. And I believe one could have given this presentation without ever mentioning Brown's gas and just use hydrogen, because there's over 1,000 studies on molecular hydrogen for almost every disease model one can think of in an hour. And these presentations are given at least once a day somewhere in the world on hydrogen without mentioning Brown's gas. Now, I'm not saying there isn't some subtle benefit to Brown's gas. I just don't know. And you've given proof it certainly does something. But the same thing, really, most of what you say can be said of just molecular hydrogen. Another comment, alkaline water is meaningless water. The pH of water is irrelevant in human physiology. And that's something you and I can discuss on our own. Magnesium oxide, magnesium. It isn't magnesium oxide, it's actually magnesium malate, one of the most assimilable forms of magnesium. And about 76% of Americans are sadly deficient in magnesium, and magnesium malate is one of the best and most bioavailable magnesium supplements. So throwing that out, I hope to talk to you a little later.
I hope you do. So just to respond, first of all, the gentleman, and I'm sorry I didn't quite get your name, but
And I'm 13 years older than you.
Very good. Hydrogen and you'll never hear me say any different, is good. Is absolutely, people should be at least doing hydrogen, even if they're not doing the Brown's gas. They should at least be doing the hydrogen in some form, and the tablets are not bad. I beg to differ on the chemical reaction and the magnesium oxide thing, but we can discuss that, and people can look into that for themselves. But the gentleman is right. There's been, well, probably over 1,000 studies now done with hydrogen for health in various ways using animals and people. And as I said before, 100% positive. There's even been studies done of studies to see if there was any studies that had any negative effects, and there were none. All the side effects are positive. They go in thinking, okay, we're going to go for lowering blood pressure, for example, and they find out that things like libido increase. So and eyesight gets better, and hair regrowth, and all these other kinds of positive side effects, of which there's even some stories that I can't tell because they're too personal to the people that I'd be telling them about. So so yes, hydrogen for health, absolutely. You got into it early on. I wish I had gotten into it as early as I should have. And I do talk about the Brown's gas because it is something that is the next level, in my opinion. And one of the things you can do with the Brown's gas that you can't do with the hydrogen tablets, generally speaking, is breathe the gas, a regulated amount. So the hydrogen tablets you put in and you supersaturate the water, but no matter how much hydrogen you put in water, there's only just so much that the water can hold. And then it dissipates. You can put it in a sealed container and it gets it in even more, like carbonation, only with the hydrogen. But nothing, you get 100 times more actual hydrogen in your body if you're breathing the hydrogen rather than trying to drink it. Now, that said, what it does to the water is so good that absolutely, you got to do both. You got to drink the bubbled water, the hydrogenated water, and breathe the gas to get the maximum benefits. In the studies, some things responded better to the breathing, some things responded better to the drinking, but everything responded to both. Okay, next question.
Has anyone ever tried Brown's gas on pets, farm animals, and animals in zoos and zoological parks?
Yes, not zoos that I know of yet, but agriculturally. For example, John Lillis, who did his orchard, started feeding, he had Brown's gas water, so he started feeding it to his chickens, and they doubled their egg production. So that was good. I just had my cat die. He was 19 years old, and he hadn't drinking Brown's gas all his life, but he was on his last legs a few years ago, and I started giving the Brown's gas water, and he lasted quite a few years more.
You've mentioned the benefits of the electrical expanded water. Are you suggesting that it comes out in the gases also, or in the vapor? Or how do you take it in?
Yes, that's correct. It's all together. There's 6 constituents to the Brown's gas when the Brown's gas is being formed. You have your diatomic hydrogen, your monatomic hydrogen, which is supposedly doesn't exist, your diatomic oxygen, and your monatomic oxygen, which again supposedly doesn't exist. But when they do the spectral analysis and the chromophotography, they can see about 3% of the gas is the monatomic form. But that doesn't account for all the extra volume, which is now the electrically expanded water, which when they dry the gas, it still shows up as water vapor. It's actually water, a gaseous form of water that is not water vapor or steam. So you have 6 different constituents. You've got your diatomic hydrogen, your monatomic hydrogen, your diatomic oxygen, your monatomic oxygen, your water vapor, because you do have some water vapor coming out with the gas, and your electrically expanded water. All those come out together. All those are needed by the body.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable George Wiseman.
Thank you.
Okay.